Next, we're on to legislative pay. Well, executive and legislative pay. I want to make sure I'm not misquoting there. I want the President and members of Congress to have their pay regulated differently. I don't want them to be able to decide to throw all those cost of living increases up in there and location differentials and all that stuff that makes their pay a lot higher than their base pay of around $200,000. So what I've done is, I think it's time that we tied our elected officials' pay to the prosperity of this country as a whole. And by that I mean, let's see, the salary of elected officials shall be directly dependent on the prosperity of the United States of America. The salary of the President shall be set to 175% of the national median income of the previous election cycle. Let's see, 175% of $47,000. We'll do some work there. That'd be about $80,000. Somewhere in the neighborhood of $320,000 less than he gets now. The salary of members of Congress shall be set to 150% of the national median income of the previous election cycle. That puts them about $67,000. Well, close to 70. Now, the reason I say the national median income is kind of important because that's what the average American earns in a year. And when the average American is earning more money, they get paid more. When the average American is making less money because of some of the actions Congress has taken, they get paid less. In other words, when this country loses, when the people of this country lose, they lose. They're directly tied. Their pay is directly tied to our success. That's important. Because when you're getting paid, whether things improve or not, you got a problem. And anybody who's a boss or has a company will tell you that when an employee's getting paid, regardless of whether he completes his work properly or not, whew, boy, shit just goes right down the tube. Because there is no incentive for them to do any better. And when you slap a union job on top of that, what do you think the chances of getting rid of a guy who does nothing but the absolute bare minimum of satisfactory work, but does nothing to improve the profit of his company or himself? Hurts everybody, especially if you're on the profit-sharing plan for that company. Now, there's a couple other changes I'd want to add to that. And that is, members of Congress health care will be provided through their state Medicaid program. In other words, they get the same insurance the poor get. They don't get no special treatment. They get to go to a doctor's office. They get to call around to 3 or 4 or 5 doctors and find out who's taking Medicaid this week. Kind of forces them to fix that health care problem we've got. Now, they won't be barred from providing for themselves and their families other health insurance at their own expense, but such expenses shall not be subsidized or reimbursed. And retirement benefits will not be paid to any member before the Social Security Administration's minimum retirement age. In other words, you get out of Congress, you're not going to get your retirement until you reach 65 or 67 or 70 or, the way it's going, 95. And that's only fair. You can't collect your retirement from Social Security after working 30 years at 20 different jobs. There's no reason they should get theirs any earlier.